Hey everyone, I'm Jessie. Thanks for joining me for another That's My Story Throwback episode. I don't know about you, but I'm rarely happier than when I'm eating something super delicious. So today's episode is focused on stories that include food. Our first story is about Cassie, who is an incredibly picky eater. She got addicted to pizza, eating it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Let's see how this addiction started.
I was walking around the house, worried sick. A few hours later, my mom called. As we suspected, my dad had had a heart attack. Thankfully, he survived because they were able to treat him on time. He was doing really well. He had some tests done. My mom said they'd come back after they got the results. I even talked to my dad for a second. I was relieved by the good news. It was almost noon. I realized I still hadn't eaten breakfast. Because I was in a good mood, I thought, I'll eat something different. I'll tell my mom about it when she comes back. She'll like that. As I was looking through the fridge, I saw 3 frozen pizzas. I randomly picked one of them. It was the cheese pizza. I heated it in the oven and ate it for breakfast. I was someone who rarely ate pizza. I said to myself, I've forgotten what it tastes like. It's pretty good. Doctors wanted to keep my dad at the hospital overnight. They had to run some more tests. I said to my mom, don't worry about me. I'll look after myself. But she didn't listen to me and told me Aunt Joy would come and stay with me that night. I was so happy that I would be seeing my favorite aunt. I decided to eat pizza for lunch again. I took out one of the 2 remaining pizzas without looking, and as you might guess, it was the mushroom one. My aunt called and said something had come up. She would be coming later. And so I ate the last pizza for dinner. It was a cheese pizza. So that's how I had my menu for the next 6 years all set. Cheese pizza for breakfast, mushroom pizza for lunch, and cheese pizza again for dinner.
Now, I love pizza, but I think even I'd get sick of it after a couple of days. Could you eat only pizza? Joanne eats 2 pizzas a week and was shocked to see how many Cassie gets through in a year. Tracy is jealous and wishes she could eat them all day. Both Ruby and Snowy related to this story. Snowy and their brother are picky eaters, and Ruby has a restrictive and narrow diet when it comes to choosing what to eat. She's glad to hear she's not alone. Watch the full episode to find out the ways Cassie's mum tried to help her. Spoiler alert, they didn't all end well. Next up, let's watch Bailey's story. She has an identical twin sister called Summer, but they are super different.
Even though we're twins, we're not the 2 halves of the same apple. We're more like apples and oranges, totally different people. One thing we're really different in is appetite. You know how they say that some people live to eat and others eat to live? I belong to the first group because I live to eat. I think about what to have for dinner while I'm having lunch, while Summer only eats what she needs to live. In fact, she often forgets to eat. She gets full really quickly, so she's always the first to leave the table. As you can guess, I've been overweight since we were babies, and Summer has been skinny. In primary school, nobody believed we were twins. Impossible, you can't be twins. You must be 3 or 4 years older, they'd say. I'd like that they thought I was older. I'd piss Summer off saying, I grew up, but you're still a little girl.
Watch the rest of Bailey's story to find out what made her want to lose weight and the inspirational way she did it. Claire found this story really heartwarming, and Kiana totally relates to not being the same as your sister. Ebony says how inspiring this story is. Glad you enjoyed it, everyone. Let's watch Gemma's story next. Her parents have no rules for her. 0. This is the same when it comes to food.
Do you think there are any restrictions when it comes to food? Of course not. There is no set dinner time in our house. Whoever wants to eat will eat whatever and whenever they want. My dad loves to cook. Every time I open the fridge, there is some food that he's prepared, but I don't have to eat it if I don't want to. For example, the other day at breakfast, I told my mom I feel like having ice cream. She replied, check the fridge to see if we have any. If not, we can get it delivered. I don't know how that sounds to you, but some days I only have ice cream for breakfast. Last winter, I had chips for dinner every night for a month and a half. Of course, that wasn't healthy at all. But in the end, I was the one who decided to stop instead of my parents telling me to. I don't think there's anything wrong with living in a house with no food rules either. I think it's wonderful to eat only the things that you feel like eating.
Would you like to eat just ice cream for breakfast? Could you deal with having no rules, or do you need some guidance? Kevin thinks it would be cool to have this much freedom, but also thinks it's safer to have some rules to follow. Bibi thinks no rules is fine, as it teaches you to learn from your own mistakes. And Max totally relates, as their parents are super chill when it comes to rules and food. I'm sure everyone gets embarrassed by their parents from time to time, but Anna's parents are next level. Her dad even finds a way to do it through food.
At the school festival at my last school, there was a karaoke stage that was for the students from the lowest grades. None of the kids really dared to start. My mother, of all people, had to go on stage and sing terribly loud and off-key to encourage them. I covered my ears and would have preferred to sink into the ground. At the same school festival, my father was late as usual. I thought he could have used a shave and a change of clothes. Besides, he was in desperate need of a haircut. To make matters worse, he got into a hot dog eating contest with Tim from my class, soaking himself from top to bottom. Even worse was the way he stuffed the hot dogs into his mouth with both hands. I felt terribly ashamed and was the first from our family to go home without saying goodbye to my friends. When they got home and realized how upset I was, they asked what was wrong with me. Everyone had been having a lot of fun after all, and why I had to take everything so terribly seriously. I would learn to see things in a more relaxed way. They just didn't understand how embarrassing such performances were for me. I was just glad that the summer vacation started after the school party.
Would you be embarrassed if your parent got into a hot dog eating contest at your school? Watch the rest of the episode to find out more things Anna's parents did, and how she changed her outlook and welcomed their behaviour. Xavier thinks Anna's parents are awesome and loves that they're foodies. Nicole hopes there is a second part to this story. Where would you like to see Anna next, Nicole? Nick says that having weird parents keeps things interesting, and Sega would rather have embarrassing, loving parents than distant, selfish ones. Agreed. Our final story for today is from Sarah. She started to notice that her parents were treating her differently from her younger sister Layla.
Layla's birthday is coming up next month. I realized this when my mom said, "I thought I'd get Layla a cake shaped like the TikTok logo this year. What do you think?" For Layla's birthdays, she always gets a cake that looks like whatever she's into at the time. For example, last year she got a cake that looked like a Roblox character. But for my birthdays, my mom just bakes regular cakes. Ask my mom, it's a family tradition. She's baking my cake herself to show me how much she cares about me. Before, I would have believed it. But now I know that she doesn't care about me at all. Because if that were the case, she'd be baking Layla's cakes too. Once I started noticing things like this, they just kept on coming. Maybe it had always been this way, and I just never noticed.
Watch the full story to find out how Sarah addressed her concerns to her parents. A lot of love in the comments for her. Vidden feels sorry for her and says that every parent should treat their children with unconditional love, even if they are different. Redia had a very similar situation, but once they spoke to their parents, it got much better. Very glad to hear it. You can watch all of today's stories by following the links in the description or finding them in the iCards. Keep commenting on our stories and let us know if there are any topics you want us to make for upcoming Throwback episodes. This is your channel and we want you to have your say. Remember to subscribe so you never miss out on a new upload. Thanks for watching, guys. That was our stories. See you next time.